You're about to hear real people's stories. Some tracks include references to racism, imprisonment, mental health, sexual assault, and drug use. If you need a pause, you can stop or skip at any time. Our team can signpost, so please speak to a member of staff for support with any of the above mentioned issues, and for those who need, there's also a quiet space available.
Been a hothead from early, mumsy weren't good in school. Didn't care about grades in maths, I was weighing up grams in the back of the field. PE, they were searching bags, I was in ISO, so I busted glad. After school got cracking in Giddy, I went back next day, everyone grabbed.
In Jamaica, right? When you go to school, you learn. If you don't learn, you get the skin beat off you. When I was that age, yeah, Dave, I knew my 1 table, 12 table frontwards. I knew it backwards. I knew it sideways.
I think coming from a West Indian heritage background, it was sort of pressed upon us that we do well at school.
Then we moved to Waltham Forest, new area, new postcode. I was 11 years old. See, there's a lot of things I had to learn on my own. Had a fight on my second day of school and I was more pissed that my mum got told.
You know, as a child that is coming in the system, you've got to remember, these kids are so vulnerable. These people come from bad backgrounds as it is, and obviously I felt like I was abandoned from my mum anyway. If you are going to be a foster carer, you can't be out, you've got to be present for that child, because that child's coming from a really hard life and they need that kind of communication. They need you to show them something different than what they're used to. You have to be present, and she wasn't a type of person that was present all the time. She used to just leave me on the doorstep late at night, go out.
Do you feel like you was trying to learn during that time period in school?
I'd given up. By the time I got into secondary school, I'd given up. I knew that I was not going to come out with anything. I knew that I wasn't going to come out with nothing. And it was, as I said, that first thing about learning and the pressure. Every single learning environment I'd been in, I was under pressure.
The words that you ain't saying. Wanna trap me with some miscommunication. Trying to solve this, but the games that you keep playing keep me waiting. I ain't staying till I'm gone. I can't hear you past the words that you ain't saying. Wanna trap me with some miscommunication. Trying to solve this, but the games that you keep playing keep me waiting. I ain't staying till I'm gone.
Too many red flags, no, I do not condone.
And then one day, I'd had enough and snapped in St. John's, and I kind of beat up 2 kids that were bullying me. And they were quite in the in-crowd, quite well known. And I had bogey coming out my nose, snot kind. I just wilded out. I'm sure I'd done some swiveling back kicks and everything within that. But it stopped the playground, stopped the whole playground. Everything stopped. It was like raw. And that day, it was like a power up. Everyone was looking at me like, "Rah, did you just do that?" And I was flexing my chest. Yeah, I did. Wiping my bogey for I did. And that was that moment where violence became a means of accessing safety.
In the end, it ended up with I got permanently excluded from obviously my junior school. Then I went to obviously secondary. I wasn't in secondary for long. I remember probably being there for a year, and then I got excluded for 2 years. I didn't go to any school, and every time someone opened up my file, they refused me. Every school, and I mean every school I applied for in the borough, Brampton Manor, Sarah Burnell, every school in Newham I applied for, they would not accept me. They opened up my file and said, hell no.
I'm very mindful about advocating for young black boys. The school have every right to exclude this young person for what they said or did. However, he's a black boy, and we know research, etc., etc. The system's very quick to exclude them, and that has a long impact.
So much stories from that school and that era of time, and so much stories. If you said, where was these people then, and where are they now? That's even traumatizing. You couldn't even imagine like what these people you know what I mean, some of these people that I went to school with have done.
I swear that the man them are reckless. They will slap mothers and kids, punch uncle in the ribs, turn your house upside down if the goons ever find where you live. Duppy make her make me a duppy MC and everybody bags zip him up tight. I'm on grease like the guy from Death Wish.
ADHD wasn't a thing back then, dyslexia wasn't a thing back then, but I know now that I was so heavily dyslexic and so heavily everything that there's no way I could have functioned in that education system. If I was born now, I probably wouldn't have gone to prison for my first offence. I'd have probably had yacht. My life would have been on a different trajectory if I had been born now.
When left, obviously, the IT centre, I think I went into college for a bit. Then I don't remember much because obviously then I went to prison. They kept me on the wing for 6 weeks. I went crazy. I was just like, you better get me off this wing because I'm telling you I'm going to kick off. And they did. They got me in education.
It taught me a lot. You know what I mean? Being in there and stuff like that. Doing education taught me how far I actually am in the education side. You need like Bible, you need this, you need that, so you can work out for yourself what's going on. You can read words, and people, remember police used to put into statement when you plead not guilty and tell you what you've done, and they put in all these big words. What I used to do is I used to read the dictionary, read everything what they're saying. Right, I go to my solicitor, right, they're saying I did this, I did that. No, I didn't. This is what happened, this is how it went. You should go just point out every bullet point because there were certain things that they were trying to pin on me that I didn't do.
I'm dyslexic. I can probably identify a lot of neurodiversity. Our advantages outside of a school scenario were creative in the way that they would make an income, for example, and would find connections between information that, you know, is available but not necessarily visible to everyone.
I wanted to make education accessible. I think one of my first times when I was teaching in college, I wrote some stuff on the board and my writing was really bad, my spelling was really bad. Kids are like, "Oh, sir, you spelt that wrong." And I was like, "Yeah." You know, the main thing about that is I don't care that I spelt it wrong. And they were like, "What?" I said, "Listen," I said, "there's loads of you who can't spell or can't write." I said, "Don't let that stop you from learning." I still can't spell now. I wouldn't have gone to university and done my master's in criminology if it wasn't for a laptop.
I weren't focused on top exams. No school was just slowing me down. Needed money, I'm jumping the gate. There's no way I was staying around. I stepped in first on votes. Rapping on side when I'm stepping collie. The man them know I'm on. Got bagged on my way back home. Didn't know what I done.
This project was made possible thanks to the National Lottery Heritage Fund and to the National Lottery Players.